What's going on, guys? This is Skyhound, also known as Xavier Pierce, Geek Archivist. If it's not clear already, I've done a few videos with regards to comparing the format on manga versus anime regarding this classic Magic Knight Rayearth. Now, for those of you guys who are either in Mexico or Spain, you guys likely know this one in, your native language. In addition to that, the names of the three girls is different, in your language. So when the news dropped about the official date of this remake on this classic, I can't tell you how the buzz started to really become loud. As for myself, I have actually spoken to several voice actors for the dub on this classic. The first one that I ever met is, of course, Barbara Goodson. That was back in 2009 for me at Anime Expo. Now, that name should ring a bell for those fans who like Power Rangers. However, you're probably wondering, what character did Barbara Goodson voice for this 90s anime? Well, that's where I sort of come into play. She was the only alumni whom I was comfortable with talking about regarding Magic Knight Rayearth. Now, to save you guys the suspense, Barbara Goodson has done anime characters. In the case of Magic Knight Rayearth, she voiced the villainess Alcyone, who is an ice-wielding mage. Now, for those of you guys who have watched Magic Knight Rayearth, you already know the backstory regarding this character. So yes, now you guys know, Barbara Goodson was the very first of the cast that I got a chance to speak to years ago. Now, in terms of what I asked and, what we discussed, I might, if I ever get the chance to run into her again, inquire about our old chat. Now, the other ones that I got to meet years later are as follows. Lex Lang, whom Digimon fans know as War Greymon, or unless you guys watch Naruto, he also plays a character there. He voiced, as I already stated in one of my videos, 3 characters. His wife, Sandy Fox. For those of you guys who watch Sailor Moon, she does Chibiusa. Again, in one of my videos, I already covered, she not only did the songs, but she also voiced Lady Asuka. Then, of course, I also met with correct me if I'm wrong here, she is the sister-in-law of Dorothy Fawn. Melissa Fawn is another voice actor who I got a chance to meet. Now, the thing is, in Digimon, Melissa voiced the character of Rika Nonaka. That was the 3rd season of Digimon, where, of course, some characters use cards to help with their Digimon partners. Now, if you guys are fans of that character, Rika Nonaka, you already know her Digimon partner. But for those of you guys who also play Honkai Star Rail, spoiler, I also played myself, Silver Wolf. Yeah, that's Silver Wolf, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with regards to the anime of Magic Knight Rayearth, Melissa Fan, I actually did some digging. She did the characters of Tarta and Tatra. Now, for those of you guys who are wondering, there is a character in Magic Knight Rayearth whom you can make the argument is similar to those two. Those characters are from the world of Chizetta. In Season 2, Tatra and Tarta challenge Umi Ryuzaki to a duel. Speaking of which, Wendy Lee. She is the latest one that I met at an anime convention. Yeah, seriously. Both characters were right next to each other. Their booths were right next to each other. And of course, I did a video regarding my recap when I went to Anime Riverside last year. For those of you guys who are wondering, I will put the link in the description down below, in addition to some of my other video analysis. And speaking of which, I do need to work on that. But anyway, let's go over this teaser that just dropped not too long ago. So yeah, it starts off with the iconic summoning sequence. You see the text in Japanese. Princess Emerald is asking for assistance. And from what I'm looking at here, this is definitely covering more from the original manga itself. Yep. And the music. Yep, this is definitely more related to the manga. Art-wise. Yeah, I know it's short, ladies and gents, but bear with me for a bit. I will be, giving my general thoughts on this when I do the remainder of this video. But anyway, music-wise, the fact that Yuki Kajiura-sama is actually working on this, I am over the moon. Now, for those of you guys who are wondering, I did actually save some of the receipts, and I will be referencing that in this video. So, regarding this, as you can see, I had to tag Sunny Fox because, well, she actually not only did the music, at least 2 of the openings for Magic Knight Rayearth, she also did the character of Lady Asuka. Now, as I already mentioned on the screen recording when I did my little brief reaction on the teaser, that they actually had only 3 songs. And the fact is that in one of my videos, I give a brief summary of my convention adventures from last year, when I spoke with Wendy Lee. Again, I will put a link in the description down below for those of you guys who are interested. But as you can see here, I thought back to when she did the English version, which of course you see the translation right there on my tweet. Then, obviously, I just cut to the chase, which came first, the songs or Lady Asuka. For those of you guys who are wondering, the character of Lady Asuka is in season 2. She comes from the world of Farron, and she challenges Fu to an archery contest, much like Tatra and Tarta of Chiseta challenge Umi to a duel with blades. Now, as much as I want to cover the entire plot of season 2, I'll just save that part for later. Okay, so with regards to that teaser, I will be going over that little by little, but to prove my point in terms of how this is more towards the manga, if you guys already watched the teaser, you kind of get the idea, but this, obviously, right here, first volume from the first set of the 25th edition of Magic Knight Rayearth, in case people think I'm lying here. In addition, if you can see it, I got it signed by Lex Lang. And as I said already, in the screen recording, he did 3 characters. Now, with that being said, I will show you guys the exact pages, and then I will obviously have to put towards the end, you know, in MLA format, you know, which video I was using, then the one for the manga, in case you guys want to try and cite it. But with that being said, let me get to the specific pages. Okay, guys, so let me just be clear here. I'm just using the first volume for reference because the teaser was doing exactly that. Sorry about this, but as you can sort of see, if you can, this is from page 3. You know, the animation wise, it's pretty much the same. And then, you know, you got the translation in terms of what was shown in the teaser. Princess Emerald is using that spell, that summoning spell, to summon the Magic Knights. It's pretty much nearly word for word the exact same thing. She's asking for help save our world, O Magic Knights of Legend. This, of course, you know, you can see some of it was actually used in the teaser. So I start from page 3, and then, you know, you kind of get the idea here. Then, of course, there's one particular detail that I want to show you guys in terms of how it actually gets to why it's more in terms of how the girls were summoned. And the difference is, again, I will show you from my previous video. Well, not from my previous video, but you see it right here, ladies and gentlemen, that from what we see in the teaser, it is going by the manga. As you can see, the solid becomes liquid form, and then this bit right here. So it ends right up to this particular bit in terms of how they were summoned, and it kind of jumps around a little bit, but as you can sort of see, you can tell now that the remake is clearly going to use the manga as a reference. So I'm actually looking forward in terms of how they're planning on doing this. But as you can sort of see, I was just using the manga as a reference. For those of you guys who have it, you already know how the whole thing unfolds. But obviously, I'm just using bits and references from comparing the manga itself, and then you have the original bit as well. With that being said, let me just get straight into the comparisons. All right, guys. So, as you can see here, this tweet I did was back on the 29th of March. As it states here, the announcement was made on the 28th regarding the official airing date. I did this mini thread to go over roughly in writing in detail the differences and how this is likely strictly going to be done from the manga. Now, keep in mind, for those of you guys who remember watching the 90s show, they had filler episodes to try to fill in aspects that wasn't covered in the manga to make it feel a little longer. That's the point of fillers. As you can see here on this one, this is where I make the comparison of why I know this is going to be, manga related. Because on here, I give subtle details in terms of how it's different. And then straight from my video, I use the key point of how it was shown in the 90s anime. This is roughly the floor. Floor disappears, then they fall. As you can see here, falling sequence. But here, there's water. As I already pointed out to you guys, the floor goes from solid to liquid. Solid to liquid, people. Then, of course, there's this part. The top two is straight from episode 2, where the girls are given the task of having to find Persea in the Forest of Silence. Instead of finding her, they find Makona. Now, this part right here is obviously towards the end of episode 1, where the girls escape on Clef's griffin summoned creature as they go to find Persea. Those of you guys who remember watching the 90s anime, same thing. Now, this part right here is clearly from the remake. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Makona's cute as heck. But from what it looks like here, they obviously did away with the desk, if it isn't obvious. But I find this part a little bit more cuter than this. Although this one looks a little bit more like he's having a lot of fun. Now, I will admit here, guys, on this tweet, I made a bit of a snafu, a mistake. So, Hikaru does eventually get a blade as well as the other two girls. Now, style-wise, that's where I made this mistake. So, initially, when Hikaru gets a sword, it is more close to Fu's in terms of design. And in this case, Umi is the only one whose weapon remains consistent, which is a rapier, because she's a fencer. And in the case of Fu, we learn that obviously she's good at archery, hence why she has a bow. Now, once the girls get the escudo ore and Persea forges the blades, that is when Hikaru's is more European style in terms of design. Umi's is consistent, then Fu's resembles exactly how it's supposed to. It's, the same hilt like Hikaru's blade initially, if you guys watch, the 90s anime. And in the case of Fu's blade, it's more of like a heavy blade type. It's like this big in terms of the width. Those of you guys who play role-playing games, you know what I'm getting at in terms of these weapons. And obviously right here, I put a link, towards the end of this mini thread for those who are interested in watching. Again, I will put a link in the description down below for those of you guys who are interested. Okay, guys, as you can see here, this is the actual account of the composer herself. And as it's dated, it was on the 28th when the news actually dropped with regards to the official airing date for the remake on Magic Knight Rayearth. You can see the translation down below. She's working with a few others. And it's very clear, it seems like she has also read the manga itself. So honestly, I'm very happy for her. Congrats to Yuki Kajiuta sama on being given the opportunity to work on this classic anime from the 90s. Okay, guys, so now that you know in terms of what's been covered, how I make these types of analysis, why I even do it, is simply to provide important context and to prove that there are those of us who know our stuff, who consume the products, who even buy the stuff, who read the stuff, and know that we have lived a life compared to those in their early 20s, late teens of today. There is a reason why I do this stuff, and it is simply to filter out, to separate, and to call out the fakes. Now, for those of us who have watched Magic Knight Rayearth, what are your thoughts on it? Who's your favorite? And are you going to be watching the remake? With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will try to continue the rest as best as I can. Stay safe, stay sane, and as a friend of mine always said, stay humble. Peace.